of his compatriots this year who are almost, if not as good as him, so we're expecting a great race.
Well, we're at the front of the starting point right now. Some very, very intense elite men. What is the field going to be like? Because Quebec is the record holder, but they are good runners there.
Well, it's the first time we've had 10 guys under 2 hours 10, which is really the demarcation point for world class. But behind them, we haven't even got space to put them on the screen. There's about another 20 guys who are in here with a possibility of winning. So we're looking for a great men's race here, equally with the women's.
Now, if all the men come from East Africa, the top 3 women come from East Europe. Interesting.
Well, the Russians are just about the only women that can contest the marathon with the East Africans. And we've got 3 of the best Russians here this morning, as their times will testify. But it's not clear-cut. As you can see, there are Kenyans in there and Ethiopians too.
A quick look at the Singaporean times. M. Rameshon's the current record holder. He came in under 250 last year. Benedict Tan's an interesting story, Pat, because he is an Asian Games gold medal sailor who somehow converted himself into a marathoner. Came in 3rd last year, mind you.
Well, it is extraordinary. He's lost a lot of weight. He's turned himself from a sailor into a marathoner. I'm going to be very interested on how he goes today.
Vivian Tang is not here with us this morning. She's, of course, the course record holder, but we do have quite an interesting, strong field as well. How will the women fare, do you think, Pat?
Well, I think with last year's winner out, this is going to be a much more even contest. So interesting to see how close to 3 hours the Singapore women can get.
Well, that's a wonderful shot of all the runners standing shoulder to shoulder. A few balloons there as well, because like I said earlier, a lot of people out here to have a good time, not just to compete, but of course, it will be the key people we're looking at, and they are standing right there in front of the line, and the atmosphere must certainly be electrifying. And to get a sense of what things are like right now on the ground, we're going to have a quick chat with our other reporter, the very lovely Ms. Kimberly Wang. Kimberly, how are you doing?
Hello, good morning, Daryl. Okay, as you can see behind me, we have the elite runners all lined up. We can see the Russians, the Ethiopians, and even the Kenyans, and everybody is here and looking so tense already.
Now, when you say everyone's looking so tense, Kimberly, many of them come from the same country, they're compatriots, as it were. Do you see any interaction between the runners?
Well, actually, there wasn't much interaction from the time they started lining up. And even until now, everybody is just looking to themselves and ready to go and hit for the record this year.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. We'll be coming back to you in a few moments' time. Now, in 2008, Luc Kibet cruised home in a time of 2 hours and 13 minutes. He's mentioned that he thinks he can go below the time. Let's see what Pat Butcher got from him in an interview that we had a couple of days earlier.
If there is good weather and you'll have good pacemakers, you can get well under 2 hours 13?
Yeah, I think so, because, you know, these guys, you know, they are having a good time. Like now for this year. Like me, you know, I will never say I will win or who, but we will fight until the last minute. But I know we will run under 2:11 or 2:12.
Now, these are the times that we're going to be looking for, folks, in terms of aiming to break the course record. If we want to go under 2:13, then we have to hit these times at these distance markers. Is this possible, Pat?
Oh, yes, indeed. In fact, we're looking at 3:08, 3 minutes 8 seconds per kilometre for the men, 3:35 for the women. That'll get us new course records.
Well, looks like we're all set up for what should be a very exciting race. Minutes away, those are the key runners in their own world, jostling, getting comfortable, getting into their own zone. And we have lots and lots of other runners behind them, of course. Some 17,500 people signed up for the Singapore Marathon this year. And we're going to go down to the ground right now to have a quick word with Kimberly Wang once again. Kim.
Hello, good morning, Daryl. Okay, I have here with me Moses. He's from Singapore and he's running the 42K marathon. So are you excited?
Yes, I'm very excited because my wife is also running. And this is her 3rd time running the full marathon.
Okay.
And I'm going to do my personal best, which is to better than last year timing of 3 hours and 22 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have here also another gentleman. You're running for the full marathon as well, right? Okay, so are you excited?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so we see a lady here where she's wearing a Santorina costume. So what is your aim for this timing? Are you aiming to just finish the race or do you have a personal best?
Yeah, I just aiming to finish the race because this is my 11th marathon for this year.
11th marathon, actually. Okay, so why are you dressed up?
Oh, because I like to dress up in costume because originally I'm dressed up in a Catwoman.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. Well, Pat, quite a few interesting characters there, eh?
Well, I like Mrs. Claus, for sure.
This is the shot of the starting line, Pat Butcher. What goes through the minds of these elite athletes as they're standing there before the flag off?
They just want to get going. They really do. They know what they've got to do, and they know that they've got at least 2 hours on the road in front of them. So they're slightly worried, even more so because of the rising temperature and humidity.
I've just heard the race announcer announce that we are just 1 minute away. That must be some of the Eastern European runners there. We are waiting to start.
Yes, one of the Russians, I think, or somebody from Belarus, and of course a load of Kenyans and Ethiopians right there on the front line.
Well, the hush of expectancy has fallen over the crowd, as you can see, to all our viewers at home. Incidentally, we're going live to Malaysia and Indonesia as well, so selamat pagi. Glad you can join us. We're just seconds away from the start of the 2009 Standard Chartered Singapore Marathon, coming to you live from the Esplanade Bridge, right here in the heart of the downtown marina area. There is the flag off there in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Oh, just getting some of the final adjustments being now. Pat, this must be really, really frustrating for the athletes. They're just so eager to go. That's Minister Giorgio waiting to flag off the run. And off they go. Well, Pat, obviously it's very, very early in the race yet. What will some of the strategies be, though, in the minds of the runners?
Well, as far as the elites go, and they've got the capacity to do it, they just want to get away from the rest of the crowd. And that's, as I said, they're right at the front, so that's going to be relatively simple. As much for the women as for the men. It's going to take quite a few kilometres for the race to unfold. So we're not going to see any major developments really for the next hour or so. So we're going to be picking out the lead men and women as we go along. Interesting to see that last year's champion is right out at the front there, which is quite unusual. He does have a pacemaker enlisted this morning. So it's going to be very interesting to see what ensures.
Now, I mentioned earlier, Pat, that we spoke earlier to some of these runners on the ground. I call them leisure runners, but I think that's not a very fair term because we have some people who are obviously there just for a leisurely stroll, but there are many people who are fairly competitive, not quite professional, but still able to do some decent times, perhaps even a sub 3 hour time.
Well, one of the guys that we saw Kimberly talking to, he's saying he wants to better his personal best of 3:22, and he looked a reasonably big guy. I mean, he's not tall, but he's certainly got a big chest on him. He looked more like a boxer, in fact. So, I mean, 3:22 for somebody like him in these conditions is a really excellent time. Of course, anything under 3 hours is absolutely superb.
And I think he's also running with his wife, so of course making this a bit of a family affair. And that's one of the hallmarks of the marathon this year. I talked about having 17,500 people signing up for the full marathon. And just a shot there, it gives you an idea of the range of people, all shapes, sizes, ages even. People in costumes, people who look like they are semi-pro runners, and there's still many, many, many more to come.
Well, I mean, look at all of these people here. I never tire of telling people around the world on the marathon circuit that Singapore is the biggest and best organised marathon race in Asia. And there's the example of it, if you like.
Great shots there of the Esplanade Bridge, right here in the heart of the downtown marina area. Usually, of course, closed off to traffic. So many Singaporeans, I think, taking the great opportunity to also run on these roads as well. You know, we Singaporeans love doing things that we can't normally do.
Well, yeah, seeing the traffic, and especially if it's raining, of course, it gets a bit blocked up like any capital city does. But sure, it's very nice to get out on the roads and not have motorbikes and bicycles and cars invading your space.
Now, what happens to the runners that are pretty much at the back of the pack? I mean, we're talking about really they're running for their own time. So they are going to be looking at their chip times. And chip times refers to the chip that all of them have on them, which will electronically let them track their times. Is that right?
Yes, in fact, there is an electric carpet that they cross, not electrified, of course, but electric carpet, and that chip starts off their own time, which is allocated to their number. So even though in the case of some people here it's going to be close to 10 minutes before they cross the starting line, their chip begins as they cross the line, so they're not going to lose that 10 minutes.
Well, speaking of crossing the line and chip times, these leaders have crossed the line some 3.5 minutes ago. They've got their chips as well. They all will be aiming to hit certain key targets. Now, Pat, you mentioned earlier that to get under the record, we're looking at an average time of something like 3 minutes, 3.8 or 3 minutes, 8 seconds per kilometer. Are they looking pretty good right now?
Oh, sure. Well, they've already gone past the first kilometre. But as we were talking about those chips, it's a good job they do have them, because, as I said, it's going to be 10 minutes before one of these guys and women cross that start line.
Now we're going to have a quick look at the course that they're going to be running through, because, Pat, you know, we talked earlier about the quality of the field, but the course is so important as well. They're really broken up into 3 main parts. Now we take you through the downtown business area, of course, down the bridge, a turn back into the Kallang Marina area, past Golden Mile Complex, and then through the central part of the course before hitting the third part of course, which is by East Coast Park. This is fairly flat. It's also fairly scenic, because for this entire length, the runners will be running past the coast. Now, will that be a factor, Pat, in terms of getting some fresh sea air to revitalize them?
Oh, yes, indeed. I mean, it is a mostly flat course, which is very good. But as we've said before, the big problem is the heat and humidity. And that piece of, well, that stretch along East Coast Parkway is going to be particularly welcome.
And then they end up right in front of the steps of the historical City Hall. And speaking of historical, we are certainly hoping that we can make history by getting some good times today. Well, the runners are still streaming through. Remember, I said we have got 17,500 people to get through the starting line. But we are on the way, and we are going to take a quick break right now. But we will come back and pick up all the action very, very